love to hear your takes on this. Why don't we get higher rated tight ends and defensive players, meaning in recruiting? Well, you
I
haven't needed them for one thing.
haven't needed them, but I mean, it is a little bit odd. But they've gotten some. I mean, like AJ Epinesa was obviously a highly rated defensive player. Uh, there are other guys that you go back a ways. Jordan Bernstein wasn't he a high 4, almost a 5-star? Didn't really do a ton at Iowa and didn't do much of anything in the NFL.
Xavier
Uh,
Wampa.
Xavier Wampa is here right now as we speak. So there are exceptions to the rule, although most of those guys are guys with strong Iowa connections already. So why can't Iowa? I understand the question. Why can't Iowa go attract, some player from Colorado that's a 4.5, 5-star kid at the position Iowa's known for? That's a good question. NIL is going to make it even tougher. But the tight end one is probably the biggest surprise. Like Mac Markway, his dad was a Hawkeye. I know Iowa tried to get him to come here, but
For you non-recruiting people, understand that there are now 69 Power 5 teams. There are 35 to 45 stars. That's it. Like, that's it.
But I
So
was also not getting many 4-stars at tight end either, Mark. And that's the other thing. I think that's my bigger question mark is why can't Iowa seem to land the 4-star kids like Mac Markway? But again, they've had higher rate. Like Elijah Yelverton was a higher rated recruit, never ended up really playing. So, I mean, they got him. He wasn't as highly acclaimed as Markway, but I trust Iowa's judgment on tight ends, and I guarantee you, Mark, there are times where they prefer a guy who's got 2 or 3 stars over a 4-star kid because they have evaluated them. And regardless of what the magazines or what the websites say, I have confidence in what, obviously, the coaching staff and Phil Parker, what they see.
you wonder what he would do if you gave him an all-star defense, like a high school all-star defense. Phil Parker.
You mean like the best personnel at a high school?
Yeah.
Well, I think part of what makes him great is he schematically runs his system because he doesn't have the athletes that other programs do. So that's a good question. And we'll never probably know the answer to that question. But, Xavier Wampa is a good example, Mark. How good can he be? We'll find out. They got a deep defensive line. They got a DB room that, if they can stay healthy, could be exceptional. My biggest question mark throughout the offseason has been linebacker. But boy, Kirk seemed high on Jay Higgins and Nick Jackson this past week during media days. So I think the defense can be as good as it was last year. I really do. I don't think Lucas Van Ness leaving is going to hurt them much at all. That sounds weird, but when you have that much depth on the defensive line, collectively, I don't know how much it hurts you. He did draw the attention of double teams and extra people, but I like Aaron Graves a lot. I had somebody ask me about him yesterday. Did Kirk bring him up? I didn't hear anything about Aaron Graves, but from everything I've been told, he's been progressing nicely. They're just so deep. And that's the thing about the line right now, the defensive line. It's the one position on this team, with the exception maybe being tight end, where you just look at him, you're like, wow, they got depth for days. Like, you're just not worried about guys getting hurt because next man in. And obviously that's rarely the case at any other position on the field.